Hi, we're back with Pat and for BoardGameGeek, and we're going to talk about Plankton Rising. Earlier, we were talking about Batman Rising, and I guess this is a big shift, but not such a big shift because it's sort of, is it still the same mechanics, would you say?
It's similar. We made some adjustments to this one in particular because of the wide age range of the SpongeBob audience, which was an interesting aspect of the project, right? As you have kids who are just discovering SpongeBob now, and then you have people who've known SpongeBob for 15 plus years and are much more engrossed in like the meme culture around SpongeBob and the sort of
Right.
nostalgia of it. And so we were trying, because this is a co-op game and everything is played face up, right? And so you can read cards to kids and explain things. We were trying to make it approachable for a family to play, but also appeal to the older SpongeBob fans who remember it from childhood and are making the jokes about it and things now. So some of the big changes between this one and our other Rising games is there's only 2 locations instead of 3
Mm-hmm.
in that area where cards are dealt out. And then we have fewer dice in this game. So it's slightly different in how you approach the core mechanics of recruiting characters and things like that are all the same, but you do it with fewer dice. One of the nice things about that is it helped us get this one to a slightly lower price point. So this is a
Right.
$39.99 price point instead of the $49, reflecting the difference in dice. But we still were able to include the full color, really cool sculpt. And in this case, because Plankton is the villain and he's so small, we did a sculpt where he is standing atop his chum bucket restaurant, or floating in
Oh,
space, as the case may be.
yes. Yeah, that's what's amazing about the OP. So not only do you choose like great IPs, but you price it at a certain point that anybody like from mass market, not only will they love it because of the theme, but it'll be affordable, which is very
Yeah, it's
important, I
always
think.
it is. It's a big part of our decision making when we're looking at, a lot of times from the game design team, you know, we're all game collectors and big game fans and hobby gamers and things. As you can tell, there's many games stacked behind the games that are behind me. Um, and we always want to
Yes.
do everything like premium, right? We're like, okay, let's put in 50 more dice and a bunch of miniatures. And then we kind of go to
Yeah.
our sales and marketing team and our production team, and they're like, you could do that, but also you want to reach the consumer who loves these brands. You want to make it accessible to them and
Mm,
give them an experience where the value of the experience and the tactile nature of the components and everything really matches, and gives as much value as possible, but also gets the game into people's hands.
right. That makes sense. Right. And there's a big mini there of the chum bucket. How did that come about? Why? Because there's many things that you can have as the mini. Why the chum bucket?
Well, because all of our Rising games are really villain focused, we wanted
Mm,
Plankton to be the figure, and we looked at a couple different, approaches to it, as we have with all of these. I think Dark Side Rising probably had the most iterations of what that figure could be for the Darth
mm,
Vader. But in this case, like, Plankton really is the core villain of SpongeBob, so we knew he had to be the antagonist who um, was getting in your way and making things difficult. And the theme of this game is that players are trying to basically keep the Krusty Krab afloat while Plankton is doing everything he can to sabotage your business. And so the cards
which
in
is
the
so
game,
plankton.
yeah, that are dealt out represent friends that you can add to your team, orders that you're trying to complete and get out the door to earn money for the Krusty Krab and keep it in business, and also villains that will get in your way. And so this one actually has fewer villains because the orders add this new challenge. So you can see Mermaid Man there is a friend you might recruit and add to your team, but next to him is an order that needs to be
Mhm,
completed. And when you complete that order, it basically goes out of play. But in order to win, you
mhm,
have to complete a certain number of orders before
mhm.
Plankton either steals an entire Krabby Patty to analyze in his lab, which is what that board is to the right, or
Right.
annoys too many customers so that they leave. So unlike some of the other Rising games where
Mm,
you have heroes who are taking damage and dying or otherwise leaving the field of battle, in this case, the various friends that are at the Krusty Krab will grow impatient, so they get time counters added to them. And if they grow too impatient, they leave. And if Plankton can
right.
drive away enough customers, the Krusty Krab will fail. Or if he steals a Krabby Patty, he can steal the recipe, and the Krusty Krab will fail. So you've got a couple
Right.
different ways that he can get in your way. So we knew he had to be that central piece, right, because of the story. And sculpting him larger than life just didn't feel right to have, like, Plankton's like this big, so to have him like
Yes.
taller in the game box, and because it's the restaurant theme, we wanted to include the chum bucket there, and we just had this funny vision of him. At one point, we were joking that we were going to match the Thanos pose, where he's kind of on the rock and doing the fists in the air
Right.
thing. But this is such an iconic, like, arms in the air for victory, evil laugh, Plankton on his
Right.
restaurant there.
Right.
That
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cute. And so maybe we can do like a few turns of the game so that we get a feel of how, we're gonna
Yeah,
defeat.
we can definitely do that.
Awesome.
So the first step we're going to do is we'll take the deck of cards there for the larger cards, and just deal 4 to each side. So there's 2 sides to the Krusty Krab. There's the back, which is the office and the kitchen, and then there's the front half, which is sort of the dining room area where the customers would be. And so each of those locations gets 4 cards face up.
Okay.
And while that's happening, you can choose which character you'd like to play as. So you've got Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward.
I'd love to play Squidward. He's my favorite.
Good choice.
Who's your favorite?
Oh, Patrick. For
Oh,
obvious
Patrick.
reasons.
Okay. Okay. So what do we do first? So aside, we've already dealt the 4 cards.
Yep. So just like the other Rising games, the first step is to choose the location you want to go to. So you're either going to choose to go to the dining room or to the kitchen. And just like in our other Rising titles, that'll determine what cards you can interact with. So there are 4 cards in each that you'll be interacting with or trying to recruit, or orders you're completing. You can see there's Man Ray, who's one of the villains, is out there as well.
Cool. Who are you playing as? What do you recommend as a first move usually in these types of games?
So just like in the other ones, usually your starting character gives you an opportunity to get more dice. So if we take a closer look at Squidward, I think if he gets another green character,
It'd be good. So we have
would be
Mermaid
good
Man.
for him.
Yeah.
Yep, and you can see the home base cards there do give some extra abilities. So they show your dice pool. In this one, you start with 3 dice. And there's some things you can assign dice to your team board, which is the character's house, to do some abilities in addition to the ones that are on your characters.
Okay.
But since
So we want the
Squidward will
mermaid.
do,
Yeah.
he'll want
Mermaid
another
Man.
green. So the dining room is a good place to go because that's where Mermaid Man is.
Mermaid Man is. Okay. So I'll go to the dining room.
So
we're gonna
put your
roll the
trophy
dice.
token on the dining room first. Before we roll the dice, we have to figure out what Plankton's going to do. So we always start with a villain. And Plankton doesn't have dice in this game. He has cards, so that's a little bit of a departure. So we'll flip the top card of his deck. And it's going to tell us that he is actually home at the Chum Bucket. So he is not at the Krusty Krab. So we set his figure aside for this round. So normally in some of the other Rising games, the villain is always attacking a location. But in this one, it's possible for him to be giving you a break once in a while. So in this case, he's off to the side and he's giving us a break.
Cool.
And it shows that the ingredient he is trying to steal is the tomatoes and the onions on the bottom there. So we're going to add a theft counter, which are the orange pieces there, to that tile in the Krabby Patty boards. And if any of those tiles ever fill up, they flip over, and they have a bonus ability for Plankton on the back.
Right. What kind of abilities would you have?
So he has the ability to add more time to friends that are on players' teams, so they get impatient, they want to leave, and things of that nature.
Awesome. Okay, so we've done that.
Yep. So now you're going to roll your dice. We'll see what we get.
We get 2 arms.
Yep,
oh, it's Plankton arms.
I
just realized, yeah.
So you've got effort, friendship, fun, and I'm totally blanking on what the 4th icon represents anymore.
BFF.
Yeah, there you go. That's
cool.
the BFF team.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to try to match any of those to the 4 cards in the dining room.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks
What are
like
the cards in the dining room? Sorry, because it's I can't see because a bit. I'm gonna lean in there.
yeah, so that one needs a 2 of the BFF, or Mrs. Puff needs 2 of the arms. So those are probably your best bets to go for one of those. The double Krabby Patty is an order that needs to be completed. On easy mode, you have to complete 7 orders to win, and then you can increase that number the harder you want to make the game. So if you're playing with younger SpongeBob fans, you can keep it on the easy mode. If you want to really go for broke, you can try to complete all the orders in the deck before Plankton
Right.
wins. So for an option there, we'll put the 2 BFF die on that order card, and that's a good move because that only uses 1 die and it leaves 2 in your dice pool to keep going. So we can go ahead and roll those again. And I see we've got the ukulele, which is the other symbol I think we needed for that Krabby Patty order.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a sign there. And that'll leave us with 1 die, which is a red die. So I don't know that we're going to be able to do anything with just that 1 die this turn. So this would be a good place to end the turn. And when you complete an order, you just collect it and place it in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
There are some abilities in the game that get more powered up based on how many orders a player has completed. But collectively,
Right.
all of the players need to have done 7 orders. So that's 1 for the whole team that you've just completed.
Mm-hmm.
And then play would rotate to the left. So then Patrick would go next and repeat the same process. So
Cool.
it would be choosing a location, flipping a Plankton card, and then rolling the dice and trying to recruit characters. And every time an order is completed or a villain's removed or a hero is added to a team, a new card is placed out there. So that's always cycling through what's available in the center of the board.
Right. Location of the
And
chum
so
bucket.
again, he's at the chum bucket again, so he'd give us a break.
Yes.
And this time he's trying to steal the cheese and the lettuce. So that's where the token would be added over on the Krabby Patty board.
The naughty plankton.
Yeah. And the game will continue in this way, basically until one of 3 things happens. It's either you completed enough orders, or well, it's actually 4 things if I'm counting them correctly. If you complete enough orders, you'll win the game. You'll save the Krusty Krab, and it'll be a good day for everybody. However, if Plankton flips over all 6 of the parts of a Krabby Patty, that basically represents that he's stolen each of them and brought them back
Of
to
the
his lab to
ingredients.
analyze.
Yeah.
So he can figure out the recipe. So that's one way he can win. Another way he can win is if 10 or more of the friends leave the Krusty Krab in frustration. So their time tracks are filled up and they're discarded from play. So if that happens with 10 or more of the friends, the players will lose. And then the last way that the players can lose is if any one player runs out of friends on their team. So if for some reason I was playing Patrick and he was the only friend I had, and his time track filled up on his card, they're sort of his equivalent of a damage meter, and I had to discard him, then I wouldn't have anybody left on my team, so we would lose.
Right.
And you can see there's some villain cards at the bottom of the screen there, some fan favorites. We had Bubble Bass and Doodle Bob, who people like quite a bit. And they have some
Right.
abilities that can make things harder for the players as well. Adding more time counters to friends, or speeding up Plankton's theft of the different ingredients, or making it so you can't use the abilities of the friends on your team during your turn, so it's harder to achieve your goals. And then we also have the bonus tokens, which are the spatulas up at the top. And so adding damage to villains and some other abilities will earn you those tokens, which, just like the other Rising games, act as extra dice symbols, or they earn you extra dice, like a free green die to roll on your turn and things like that.
Cool.
And as I said, this one scales difficulty anywhere from 7 to all of the orders in the deck, so you can make it as hard as you want. On the easy level, it's pretty approachable for a family game, and on the hardest level, it's enough to frustrate older SpongeBob fans who want a challenge.
Right. It's pretty cool. Yeah. I like the fact that you can adjust it so that kids and both adults can play it. Not that, because we're all kids at heart anyway. So it's not as if it doesn't matter if I play it on easy mode. Just seeing all the characters again, like it brings back a lot of good memories watching SpongeBob and things like that. Is that the feeling that you want from your games?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime we're doing a licensed game, we want to hit some of those like deeper fan moments and things that they'll really latch onto and be like, I remember that episode. But you also want to hit all the major fan favorites that everybody knows. So we're
Right.
always trying to balance out those pieces, um, and include as much as we can in a game.
Mm.
And then, of course, the art for this. Summer Furzer on our team, who did the graphic design, is a big SpongeBob fan, so she really got into making these cards as cute as possible and really highlighting the different characters in the box art there with the Krusty Krab exploding in the background and Plankton making
Yes.
off with the Krabby Patty. So this one was super fun, and it's interesting. Like when we go on BoardGameGeek, right, and there's threads about like, oh, what's the next Rising game going to be, or what IPs do you think they'll do with this system next? And we
That's
see
my
some of the
question.
yeah, so
I'm
there's some of
excited.
the expected ones, right? Like people are like, oh, of course, Harry Potter was predicted by a lot of people because we do a lot of Harry Potter games, and we'd already done Marvel, but there was speculation about a DC one and some different things like that we might do. I don't think anywhere anyone suggested Plankton or SpongeBob as an IP that we might put with this game. But I think that's what's been so fun about it for us is it's just sort of unexpected and it brings out a laugh every time we put it on the table. It's been really like, okay, we really went here, didn't we? We made this game, but everybody's
Yeah.
had such a blast playing it that I think it's going to be a hit for fans.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also always the unusual themes that are a big hit. Just because you've never played with SpongeBob, and a lot of people are like me. I'm a big Squidward fan, but yeah. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm sure a lot of people are, and so thank you so much for explaining Plankton Rising to us. So this is Pat from the OP, and I think we're going to be back with you to talk about Munchkin next time. See
Yep,
you
we'll be
next
back
time.
soon, and this one will be out in October as well. This is
Yes.
$39.99. You can find it in your favorite game stores, and it'll be on the Games as well.